Hey everyone, my name is Wedge and we're halfway through the second week of Oath of the Gatewatch spoiler season. If you couldn't tell already, the set is bringing us some crazy stuff. Today is no different. We've got weird things going on here. Don't say I didn't warn you. Without further ado, so many cards to talk about. If you enjoy our spoiler series and enjoy this video, please hit that like button. It's a rough life. Likes make me feel better. They're like hand hugs. Okay, I'm done. Sears Lantern is 3 mana for an artifact that taps to add 1 colorless specific mana to your mana pool. You can also pay 2 of anything and tap it to scry 1. I really enjoy cards like this for limited. It has its uses early game to help you fix colorless mana, and it helps you out late game with a decent mana sink and the scry ability. Perfectly fair and balanced card. Love it. Good stuff. Thought-Knot Seer is 3 of anything and 1 colorless for a 4/4 Eldrazi. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile that card. When the Seer leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. Really like this. It's like a pseudo Tidehollow Sculler / Vendilion Click. What's nice is that the card you force them to exile doesn't come back, they just draw a card. If you get something great out of their hand, it's unlikely the card they get will be as effective, the Vendilion Click effect. Anyways, find a way to flicker this in and out of exile and you have a pretty sweet hand attack engine. Opponent, exile a card. Exile another card. Sure, you can draw. Yeah, exile that card too. Don't like that? I thought not. Relief Captain is 2 of anything and 2 white for a 3/2 Core Knight ally. When it enters the battlefield, support 3. This means put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 3 other target creatures. No, you cannot stack the counters on one creature. I keep getting that question. Now that that's out of the way, this thing is a limited powerhouse. It isn't at all overcosted for bringing up to 6 power to the table with it. Do not underestimate these Anthem type effects. You essentially upgrade your entire board when it hits the battlefield, and it's a 3/2 by itself. That isn't even terrible given the ability it comes with. This is a quality support uncommon. Dimensional Infiltrator is 2 mana for a 2/1 Eldrazi with Devoid, Flash, and Flying. You can pay 1 of anything and 1 colorless and exile the top card of target opponent's library. If it's a land card, you may return the Infiltrator to its owner's hand. I mean, yeah, sure. 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer is great, Flash is great, that ability is hilarious, and it has a clause to let you protect the Infiltrator if you want to. There's so much to do on this card for 2 mana. It's kind of insane. Oath of the Gatewatch is turning out to be crazy. Eldrazi for days, my goodness. Gift of Tusks is 1 blue mana for an instant. Until end of turn, target creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elephant with base power and toughness 3/3. Okay. We have Turn to Frog, Pongify, Dance of the Skywise, Rapid Hybridization. This card's confusing. In a way, it's kind of better than a few of those cards, but in a way it really isn't. I'm having trouble figuring out if this is good or not. I mean, it does let you turn something huge into a 3/3, but that 3/3 is just the base power and toughness. You need to be sure you have something else to deal with the creature itself. You need 2 pieces for this card to be useful. I'm not saying it isn't amazing, but it's more of a side grade than anything else. It's weird. Jwar Isle Avenger is 5 mana for a 3/3 Sphinx with Surge costing 3 mana and flying. Alright, I really enjoy this type of Surge card. It's pretty clear that a 5 mana 3/3 even with flying isn't exactly ideal. With that Surge cost, so much better. A 3/3 with flying for 3 is straight up bonkers. If you can enable the Surge cost on this thing, we're talking early and often beatdowns on your opponent. Like it a lot, it's a sweet limited card. Translation pending. Void Shatter is 1 of anything and 2 blue for an instant with Devoid. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Yes, a Devoid Dissipate? Crazy strong. Now the blue hate cards that stop blue spells from doing this won't work against this beast. Very cool. Also, and I feel like this is pretty important, Innistrad is the next block. Dissipate wasn't Innistrad. Pretty sure flashback shenanigans, or at least some kind of graveyard tech, are coming back in full swing. This card is definitely a nod to that. Get ready for graveyards to go nuts. Hype! Bearer of Silence is 1 and a black for a 2/1 Eldrazi with Devoid, Flying, and it can't be blocked. When you cast it, you may pay 1 of anything and 1 colorless. If you do, target opponent sacrifices a creature. And standard playable. Gatekeeper of Malakir was in Standard, and I definitely think this will be too. It's a little easier on your colors than the Gatekeeper, and while it is unfortunate that it's 4 mana total, we're talking about a card that can force a sacrifice on cast. So even if it gets countered, you get the trigger. That's hugely important against counter-focused strategies like Esper Dragons. Their only job is protecting their Ojutai. This kind of ruins the day. It actually scares me a bit. If it does get into play, it even has flying, evasion for some nice attacks. Really enjoy this card. I think it should see at the very least sideboard Standard play. Goblin Freerunner is 4 mana for a 3/2 Goblin Warrior ally with Surge costing 2 mana and Menace. Don't get me wrong, it is just a common, but come on, this is a sweet common. If you can Surge it, it's 2 mana for a 3/2 with Evasion, and it's a Goblin, I'm telling you. In a Mass Goblin strategy, casting this as your second spell of the turn isn't going to be that difficult. Plus, even if you do it turn 3 or 4, it still has 3 power and Evasion. That's still relevant. I'm not saying this is going to be a staple in Standard or anything, but you have to admit it's much better than the average common usually is, man. Goblins. Goblins, just beware, I did warn you. Sylvan Advocate is 2 mana for a 2/3 Elf Druid ally with Vigilance. As long as you control 6 or more lands, the Advocate and land creatures you control get +2/+2. And this card is straight gas. It's 2 mana in 1 color for a 2/3 with Vigilance. That's already disturbing value for the cost. It's also an elf and an ally, so super relevant creature types there. Lastly, it gives you late game potential in its ability. Have 6 or more lands and boom, you have something that can brick a Siege Rhino. What if we saw some type of Bant Awakened deck? Noyandar, this guy, Halimar Tidecaller. Granted, that's going to be clunky as all heck, but it would be cool. More likely, if this does see Standard play, it'll be in a green ramp deck that easily enables its trigger. Really cool card though, super powerful. Mina and Den Wildborn is 2 of anything, 1 red and 1 green for a 4/4 legendary creature elf ally. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. You can also pay 1 red and 1 green and return a land you control to its owner's hand, and target creature gains trample until end of turn. This is a weird card. It has inherently good abilities. Being a 4/4 for 4 is fine, and getting to play an additional land per turn is pretty great. The ability to return a land to your hand means you can enable landfall pretty much whenever you want, and it allows you to save awakened land creatures or your man lands if they're targeted. The real problem here is the cost. 4 mana is a lot for an ability you want to turn earlier. If this would see play, it's going to be in an Atarka red-green type deck. If not that, then probably a landfall variant. The problem again, landfall wants fast creatures. This is a bit slow even if it gives you land ramp. Tough decision on where this goes. At least we can all agree on one thing. It's going straight into Commander. It's either going into Omnath or replacing Omnath, one or the other. Today was a weird day for spoilers. We saw some interesting cards that do interesting things in specific archetypes. It's the best way I can think of to describe a lot of the cards we saw. Let me know in the comments which cards were your favorites and which cards you're most excited about playing. I know a lot of you are pumped for the set, and you should be. Again, let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Oath of the Gatewatch spoiler information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Wow.